Well, yeah. I mean, as you're going through, you know, the chemo and trying to come back from it, uh, you played a little bit, and then, the Yankees won another World Series. So I mean, you're still technically with the team, so that's another ring. That's your fourth ring at that point, right?
Fourth ring in the big leagues. 4 years, guys play their whole career and don't get one. Here it is,
Yeah.
the opportunity to play with great teams, and all in New York. All the guys in New York, those teams that I played with were in New York at the time, and three with the Yankees and one with the Mets. And I was very fortunate to be able to be in the right place at the right time to experience that. But it's still a long, long road because I went through that '99 season and everything, and I mean '98 season, and then '99 came, and then I relapsed again, and then I was out of baseball for good. In 2000, the cancer reoccur inside of me, colon cancer. So that would be the second time, and I go in for my second surgery, and they have to remove my left kidney in my second surgery. So I had to go through that whole process of signing off on a release form that if they had to remove that kidney because it was a healthy kidney, but it was a tumor right under the kidney. And so I had to go through that whole process. I didn't want to go through that surgery again. I was telling the doctor, I can't do it. There's no way I could do it. I just rather be dead. I don't want to go through another surgery, chemo and everything. And then my doctor convinced me. He said, this is not about you. This is one time you're going to have to think this is not about you. He says, you got young kids that deserve a chance. He says, you can live with one kidney, but you got young kids that deserve a chance to have their father live and be here. And, he really drilled that home to me. So I had to go through that process again. And it was the most challenging time, the most difficult time of my life that I went through, having that second surgery, because I wasn't well after I got out of, got off from the second surgery and one kidney operating. And there it was, they prescribed me with Percocets, and I started taking those, and I got addicted to those and couldn't get off of those, and that was another hard, challenging moment of my life, facing that and just going through so many different things, violating probation. So I would end up from there, kept going to treatment and violating treatment and probation. And I just remember standing in front of the judge, Judge Foster. And because after violating probation, she had me in front of her, and I was sick and I wouldn't take chemo. And she said, well, what do you think I should do with you? I said, I don't care what you do. I'd just rather die. I'm not taking chemo no more, none of that. And she said, well, you're just going to go back over there in the county jail and you're going to sit. And she sat me over there for like 2 months without even hearing from her. And she got sick and came off the bench. Then another judge came in, and I came back in front of him with my attorney. And my attorney said, well, what do you want to do? After violating treatment and getting kicked out of there. He says, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to go to prison. And he says, really? I said, yeah. I said, I don't want no more paper. I don't want to do no more probation. And I said, how much time I'm going to do on the 18-month sentence? He says, 12 months. I said, I'll take the 12 months. Send me to prison. And there it was. I made a decision to go to prison and be locked up. And so I didn't want to do any more. I didn't want to be on DOC anymore. I didn't want them having control of me because they were just like, the system is really so wicked, the way they treat people. And, they don't, because the Judge Foster looked at me as like, he's not a menace to society. He has a drug problem. He's not a criminal. The state trying to tell him he's a criminal, he's this, and she goes, he's not a criminal. Where's the crime at? He hasn't done a crime. He has a drug problem. He's a very sick man. He needs help. And so, and I ended up, going to do the 12 months, and that was it.
Well, yeah, because around that time, that's when everything kind of seemed to crumble for you. Because in April 3rd, 99, you got arrested in Tampa for soliciting an undercover female cop. They found a little bit of cocaine on you, so you got suspended for 140 days from Major League Baseball. And you're supposed to come back to the Yankees in 2000, but then you tested positive for cocaine during spring training. So the Yankees let you go, and that essentially ended your baseball career. When you knew that your baseball career was over after playing at the highest level, 4 rings, superstar, everything that comes with it, how did you really feel?
I was the best thing probably ever happened at that point in time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was nowhere else to go. I had done everything in baseball. I'd accomplished everything you could want to accomplish in baseball in a career. So I was pretty much satisfied with that. And it was like, what's next? It's got to be something else. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of athletes could never take the uniform off.
Mm.
And I knew I needed to take the uniform off at some point in some time. But I hadn't really taken it off at that time, and even through the struggles that I went through. Being out of baseball and moving on and moving forward. I was still straddling the fence with the uniform, identifying myself. And that's what I'm saying, identifying myself as Darryl Strawberry, the baseball player, Major League Baseball uniform, and all these teams. And so many athletes will go through that their entire life and could never get free from that. And I needed to get free from that. I just didn't know how and when. And I was just trying to figure out and hoping that one day that I would truly get free from the uniform. And I would never have to, look back and identify myself as this. And that was going to be a process. And it was a process. It was a long process after all those years, going to prison and coming out, getting out, losing my next marriage. And then Tracy coming into my life, and she was in recovery. We met in recovery at a convention, Narcotics Anonymous convention in South Florida. And little did I know, because I was struggling. She had 1 year clean, and I had 5 seconds clean. I had just come back from a binge, out there smoking crack, shooting dope, and wanting life to be over, and still wasn't done. And I would end up hooking up with her. And I said, well, because I was asking, I said, God, well, if there's a sign, send me something, send me a hope in a light. And it was her, and I didn't even know it at the time. And then I would take her through this whole process too, with me. I told her when we first met, I said, you don't want to get involved with me because I run through people like a tornado. I'm nothing nice, and because I was very sick in my addiction and stuff like that. And me and her ended up getting together and going on this journey together. And she would be that light that was sent to me to help me and to shape me and mold me. And it was totally incredible, because a lot of times as people, we think it's really about us, and it's really not about us. But we think it is, and it's really not about us. It's about what can be done through us. And I didn't know all that at the time. So me and her go on this journey, and I took her through it, and we had to break up and didn't know if we were going to ever be together, because I was still in the midst of my addiction, and she was well. She was trying to move forward in her faith and on a new journey, and I had to go back and research, and I had to do some real research on myself and re-examine myself, and I did that, because you got to do the work if you want to get well. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't. They want to use every excuse. I want to use the uniform as my excuse, what I used to do, and I realized that was no longer a part of who I was.